What's up, people? Welcome back to the Guardian File. Today's video takes us deep into a shocking and scandalous case that has sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community in Indiana. We're looking into the downfall of a once respected sheriff, Jermaine Noel. This is a story of betrayal, greed, and power, which reminds us that the people we trust the most can sometimes be the ones who exploit that trust the worst. I'm here to break it all down for you, so buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride. We're talking about Indiana crime that sends shockwaves through the community. What unfolds next might just leave you on the edge of your seat. And trust me, this story involves more twists and turns than a police shooting drama. So grab your snacks and buckle up, because we're about to unravel the shocking downfall of one man and how it's impacted lives in Clark County. Stay tuned for what might be the most thrilling episode yet. What's up, people? Welcome back to the Guardian File. Today's video takes us deep into a shocking and scandalous case that has sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community in Indiana. We're looking into the downfall of a once respected sheriff, Jermaine Noel. This is a story of betrayal, greed, and power, which reminds us that the people we trust the most can sometimes be the ones who exploit that trust the worst. I'm here to break it all down for you, so buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride. The rise of Jermaine Noel. In the heart of Indiana, there was once a rising star within the realm of law enforcement, Sheriff Jermaine Noel. He was known for his strong commitment to serving and protecting the community of Clark County. He wasn't just a figurehead, he was a Republican operative who diligently worked alongside powerful politicians, paving his way to influence. From training sessions with leadership to planning community outreach programs, Noel seemed to check all the boxes of what a responsible sheriff should be. With charm and charisma, he made face-to-face connections with the citizens of his county. For most, he was the embodiment of what law enforcement should represent: reliability, trust, and integrity. But behind the badge lay a darker side. Noel's influence grew just like the power that often accompanies it. He wasn't just winning campaign after campaign, he was also amassing a personal fortune, one that would soon lead to his downfall. As a sheriff, he had access not only to law enforcement tools and resources, but also to the taxpayer funds that came with running a police department and emergency services. Unfortunately, this was a case of power leading to corruption, and it became increasingly clear for Jermaine Noel the rules didn't quite apply as they should. As he embarked on his administrative career, he decided to prioritize personal gain over public service when the stakes of running a sheriff's office superseded the responsibilities he had sworn to uphold. To keep this inside secret safe, he built a facade that outwardly showcased community values, while internally he was feeding on the very resources meant to protect the public he served. The fallen angel. Noel's double life was a tightly wound coil waiting to spring loose. His reign, though seemingly promising at first, was built on a foundation of lies. In the shadows of his well-publicized political life, he was doing something heinous, misappropriating millions from the fire and EMS departments. Taxpayer dollars meant to ensure public safety were instead funding lavish vacations, luxury rides, and expensive jewelry. The sharp contrast of his life as a public servant versus a reckless spendthrift couldn't be more glaring. Indiana State Police began piecing together this complex puzzle when whispers of financial misconduct reached their ears. What started as isolated incidents raised red flags that warranted more scrutiny, leading to an extensive investigation into his spending habits and decisions. The layers of deceit began to peel away, slowly but surely, exposing the corruption that lay beneath the surface. Noel's mismanagement of funds was rampant. He was charging taxpayers for non-emergency nonprofits, prioritizing profitable transfers over urgent 911 calls simply because they lined his pockets better. This alarming trend raised concerns not just about his character, but about the safety of the very citizens he was meant to protect. It was clear every dollar he pocketed was at the expense of his community's wealth. Families who depended on first responders found themselves endangered by his activities, and one necessity became abundantly clear. The public could no longer trust the man meant to safeguard them. Then came April of 2023, a pivotal point in this saga. The Indiana State Police burst through the doors of Noel's home, serving warrants that would unearth a treasure trove of malfeasance. Their findings would forever alter his life, illuminating a dark path of betrayal and greed that no one saw coming. Act 3, The Cream. As the dust settled from the raid, the truth emerged. Jermaine Noel faced an astonishing 31 felony charges. How had a man trusted with the community's safety spiraled into a web of crime? The charges ranged from theft and money laundering to official misconduct and tax evasion. This was more than just corruption. It was a grotesque betrayal of the community and the badge he claimed to honor. As investigators delved deeper, they found that he had not only misused government funds, but had also engaged in activities that made a mockery of law enforcement ethics. Piecing together statements from various victims led to some gut-wrenching revelations about the impact of his actions on the community. In court, people shared emotional testimonials about how Noel's greed negatively impacted their essential services and community morale. It was a raw display of humanity, first responders weeping openly as they recounted their struggles under Noel's reign. The heart-wrenching testimonies revealed how his mismanagement had left them operating without necessary equipment, sometimes even making do with insufficient personnel while ensuring his lavish lifestyle paid for. One speech stood out among the rest. A former firefighter declared, "Jermaine Noel has betrayed the trust of the public and every first responder." And it struck a chord. This was not merely about embezzlement. It was an attack on the values that bind communities together. When those in public service act with integrity, they create an atmosphere of mutual respect and safety. When they don't, the consequences can be catastrophic. And to think this was all happening under the proud banner of law enforcement. It raised questions about accountability, trust, and the implicit expectations placed on people in power. Just as you think you have a grasp on your true brave protector, it turns out they are siphoning away the very protections meant for you. Act 4 proceedings. Fast forward to courtroom drama where tension hung heavy in the air. Judge Larry Medlock presided over the proceedings, listening intently to the emotional testimonies from victims who bore witness to the chaos and confusion Noel had sown. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Glenn, a fellow deputy, recounted how the absence of reliable emergency services had put countless lives at risk. The ripples of fear swept through the community during this dark period, as families braced themselves, uncertain if help would ever arrive when they needed it most. As the judge made note of the emotional distress conveyed through each testimony, he indicated the unforgivable betrayal that had taken place. Judge Medlock delivered a stinging rebuke as he looked directly at Noel. "You've tarnished the badge and failed everyone in law enforcement." The words reverberated through the room, a powerful indictment of their former leader. Noel, who was shrouded in orange jail garb, wore a mask of indifference, but as the emotional weight of the courtroom swelled around him, he couldn't hold back the tears when a letter from his niece was read aloud. The letter's content was stunningly poignant, expressing her disappointment and addressing the family disgrace. The simple yet impactful statement, "Grandma and Grandpa would be very disappointed," hit hard, offering a glimpse into the gravity of his family's fallen legacy. The calculated damage of Noel's actions embarked on a new trajectory. as the hearing went on. He read a prepared statement, attempting to pivot the conversation away from his sins and instead share a prayer that was more indicative of his guilt than his innocence. It's all my fault. My family were victims of my deceit, like everyone else, and I hope they can forgive me, he said. But let's be real. What were we witnessing? Was he genuinely remorseful or just grieved over the consequences that came crashing down? Public opinion was a volatile blend of compassion for his family and ire toward his misconduct. As if pulling strings from behind the curtain, he crafted this narrative of self-pity aimed at redeeming himself in the public eye. Ultimately, the judge handed down a sentence of 15 years, with only 9 of those years spent in actual prison time. Some might say only a fraction of justice had been served for the people whose lives forever changed due to his hubris. Yet again, as the hammer of justice struck, a murmur of dissatisfaction resonated from the community. Acts 5, the restitution. And while he may escape the weight of time in prison, the financial repercussions would haunt him. As part of his plea agreement, Noel was ordered to pay back an astonishing $3,100,000, funds that had been snatched from hard-working taxpayers and carelessly squandered by an entrusted leader. That kind of money doesn't get lost in the couch cushions. It's the lifeblood of communities, and emotions ran high as the reality was realized. The breakdown of the restitution payments painted a clear picture of where the funds had gone astray. Over $2,800,000 was owed to the Utica Volunteer Firefighters Association. Important and critical money that impacted the day-to-day operations of first responders. Could the community ever truly recover after this ghost betrayal? The fine, coupled with the restitution, added additional weight to Noel's sentence, effectively hammering home the point that such betrayal would not go unpunished. But there was a lingering question among the public. Would this financial burden actually translate into genuine accountability, or would it yield another slap on the wrist? To stem the tide of public outrage, authorities stated their unwavering determination to pursue accountability and restore faith in the system. With Noel inching toward an uncertain future and the total chaos unveiled by his actions, the real question became whose judgment he'd face next. Yes. More to the story, but hold on to your seats, folks. The story doesn't wrap up neatly here. The complex aftermath of Noel's downfall began to bring to light further investigations in response to growing inquiries. As state attorneys unraveled the web of deceit, it became apparent that Noel was not the only one facing scrutiny. State Attorney General Todd Rokita initiated civil cases aimed at recovering misspent public funds. The determination to hold Noel accountable extended beyond the walls of the courtroom and into the communities he once served. Legal battles loomed ahead, tethered by shadowy foundations of corruption, trying to prevent this heavy feedback loop from repeating itself. In an ironic twist of fate, Noel's wife and daughter were also in hot water, facing serious charges of theft and tax evasion based on their involvements. This twisted family drama was reflecting the depths of greed within their household, leaving many to speculate whether such actions were a result of collusion or merely a desperate attempt to maintain luxury as the walls began to close in. The stakes had risen, and the complexity of it all was staggering. Families were dealing with the fallout as they grappled with the sense of betrayal stemming from their own loved ones deceiving them. How many lives had been impacted by choices rooted in self-interest? Questions lingered long after the conclusion of Noel's case, and those ripple effects echoed loudly through Indiana. As if that wasn't enough, the community's collective effort to demand reform and accountability generated a movement toward oversight. Inquiry into the practices of law enforcement agencies became a pressing concern as residents fought for transparency in budgeting and spending. Citizens rallied together, pushing for vigilance during local elections, lobbying for safeguards against financial misconduct, a push that would leave a lasting mark on the future of Indiana law enforcement. Act 7. Community response. Witnessing the fallout from this beleaguered case, communities began to rethink their trust in law enforcement. Candor, they realized, would be key in rebuilding their faith. Citizens needed to advocate for what was right and hold accountable those who pledged to serve them. Roundtable discussions emerged across town halls as residents convened to share their thoughts on establishing accountability systems within local governments. Every Sunday, families would gather, expressing concern about public safety while sharing their heartaches about having been taken advantage of by what was supposed to be a trustworthy figure. The local media was relentless in its coverage, feeding public appetite for justice as discussions of oversight, accountability, and transparency ruled every segment. Victims banded together with support from advocacy groups, and soon they transformed their grief into action. The community took charge, demanding a comprehensive audit of all fire and EMS departments to deter future corruption while fueling public consciousness. Noel's downfall sparked an awakening, prompting residents to assume an active role of safeguarding their safety. Lawmakers took notice. They leveraged these unified voices to push for innovative legislation aimed at ensuring the accountability of public officials. The people had spoken, and they believed that integrity mattered in governance. A revolution sparked by betrayers like Noel. What's next? As we navigate through the aftermath, one can't help but wonder what comes next for Jamie Noel and the Clark County community. Although Noel himself sits in prison, the ramifications of his actions will linger in the hearts of many. His conviction was only the first step in a long and arduous journey toward healing. Communities situated in the shadow of his betrayal must now establish a system of vigilance to reclaim trust and renew their faith in local governance. Each member of Clark County faces their own journey toward reconciliation and recovery, hoping to rebuild what was lost. As we reflect on this journey together, Noel's story serves as a cautionary tale on the broader implications of misplaced trust, power, and responsibility. No longer will blind faith reign supreme. Vigilance and advocacy will take precedence. This case has ignited a call for change that may redefine how we hold public officials accountable for their actions. In closing, let us remember the lessons inherent in the rise and fall of J. May Noel. The power of the people lies in their ability to stand up and demand better from those in pursuit of power. Perhaps through this tragic saga, Clark County will rise from the ashes, more aware and engaged, forever changed by a history they would be smart to ensure won't repeat itself. Now, let's discuss the broader implications of J. May Noel's story. It's truly a reflection of the world we live in today, where we witness people who seem ripe for the roles of leaders turn their backs on the values they profess to uphold. What is it about power and authority that breeds such corruption? You almost have to wonder if there's a lesson nestled in every scandal that reminds us not just to hold the ones with power accountable, but also to be vigilant ourselves. Corruption isn't merely about financial gain. It's a moral failing that impacts families, communities, and the very fabric of society. As we see in this unfolding drama, it's often the case that those who have sworn an oath to protect us are willing to do the opposite because they believe the rules are for everyone else but them. What stood out for me while creating this narrative is that each betrayal compels society to acknowledge its flaws. The crux of Noel's downfall serves as a reminder of the dangerous expectations we repose in our leaders, often sidestepping personal due diligence for blind trust. Let's be honest, Wouldn't it be more prudent for each one of us to maintain a healthy skepticism about the ones we elect? Shouldn't we challenge them to operate with transparency every step of the way? At the end of the day, this episode leaves us not only examining systemic failures in governance, but also our role in perpetuating or preventing these outcomes as engaged citizens. Trust needs to be earned every single day, not just during media campaigns or local elections. It must be subject to scrutiny and steadfast commitment to integrity. So as we look ahead, we all have a role to play. Let this be a reminder that accountability matters and that we must stand tall against any form of corruption, regardless of the source. The power lies in the people, and we must ensure our voices are heard loud and clear in the corridors of authority. So, folks, what do you think about Jaime Noel's sentencing? Did justice prevail, or is there more work to be done within Clark County? How can communities ensure these kinds of events won't happen again? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into gripping stories of crime, law, and the pursuit of justice. We will keep you posted on the next steps in Clark County and undertake another compelling investigation soon. Until next time, stay vigilant, and as always, keep your eyes open. That's all for today's episode of The Guardian File. If you've enjoyed today's discussion, debate this topic with us in the comments below. Share your insights, your emotions, and your thoughts on how to transform accountability into action. Until next time, folks, don't just be spectators. Get involved, raise your voices, and help shape the world we all live in. Thanks for watching.